It's been so long, I forget like how to do the introduction. um, hey everyone.
You got your yawn in. Sorry. It
So
was meant to
happy.
be. It was meant to be.
Oh my God. Oh, that was brilliant. Happy 2021, right? I'm so excited. This is the first video that we are doing in 2021, and I'm really excited because this year is a year of more ascension, and as we ascend, more things will open and come through and come around us. And for everybody who is just new to watching our video series, I'm Joanna Rosenthal. I'm a holistic lifestyle coach helping women raise their vibration to find their purpose. And Amber?
I'm Amber. I'm a psychic medium and Reiki master.
Sweet deal. She's awesome. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Thank you.
I am really excited about this one. And I know that every single time that we start our conversations, we're like, yeah, this one's the best. This one's fun because we're talking all things vortexes and portals and we really just wanted to bring this to light for people who are curious about it. It's very layered. Obviously, there are many more, depths and stories that we could get into about portals and vortexes. But to start, I think we're going to get into a little bit of like what kinds there are, where they exist, what signs to look out for, so forth and so on. So Amber, do you want to explain a little bit in like the 101 sense what a portal and a vortex are?
Yeah. So a vortex tends to be a little bit bigger than a portal. Portals can be vortexes, but vortexes aren't always portals. So a vortex is just basically like a huge spiraling thing of energy. There's just a lot of a specific energy, and it's just this big whirlpool of stuff. Mm-hmm. A portal is essentially a connection to multi-dimensions, other realities, stuff like that.
And there are many types that exist, or that are all fundamentally at the baseline. They all have themes and they're all connected. They all have kind of like a spine that works in the same way. But in terms of where they are, what kinds there are, we were getting into different categories of there being the like physical ones that, are throughout the world. For example, the Delta Triangle is one. And then the black hole. And then we could get into a little bit more about different. It's so funny to me. I love saying it because it sounds so ominous. And then also like mirrors. So if you want to just like tap into a little bit about mirrors and how they can act as portals no matter where you are.
I was thinking about it yesterday, and it's interesting because it's the piece of glass or whatever that is basically a reflection of everything happening. So I feel like it's almost inevitable that the energy would have some kind of weird doorway that happens, Mm-hmm. Mirrors can be portals to other realities, other dimensions. Extraterrestrials use mirrors as portals sometimes. I feel like the reptilians specifically are like notorious for using mirrors as portals. You can connect with spirits through them. I actually know somebody who, like, there was this ghost woman in his mirror, and anytime he was moving stuff around, if there was like a lot of movement or construction going on, the mirror would get like steamy. Like it would just randomly start steaming for no reason at all. And that always meant she was kind of like upset or frustrated. But you could see like handprints on it. It was really interesting. She would like literally interact through the mirror. I personally, if I'm going through like an old museum or an old apartment building or just an old building in general, and there's an old mirror that has been there for forever, I cannot look through it. I cannot walk by it. Like the energy in it is too much. There is so much that just like latches into a mirror because it sees so much,
Because I'm not necessarily psychic, but I have a lot of, I have heightened intuition, and like what I get bad feelings in front of certain mirrors, or I know when to like, I know when to close one. I know when to cleanse it. But what are some good pieces of advice for people who do have those feelings, who just want to kind of protect themselves around mirrors?
Well, you can just kind of cleanse it. I mean, getting like cleansing botanical and like, you know, letting the smoke kind of rise on it. Make sure you leave a window open so the smoke can actually like take everything and release it out. Because it's a physical object, it needs to be cleansed. You can also cleanse it with Reiki energy, but obviously not everybody is attuned. So yeah, just burning something like Palo Santo or sage or whatever.
It's so interesting. Just quickly going back to the fact that you said, you know, reptilians tend to use mirrors as portals. For people who are trying to understand about like what kind of species there are that are out there, there are good reptilians that are out there, but a lot of reptilians tend to hold and host a not so good vibration around them, and there's a long history between humans and reptilians that is for maybe for another story that we can share one day, maybe down the line. But I find it very interesting because for a lot of people who are open to psychic attacks, looking in a mirror can be a really easy way for that to happen. For example, if psychic attacks can happen when you're depressed, when you're feeling sad, anything that is a low resonance, because you're just opening yourself up for anything and everything to be like, oh, how can I challenge her or him or them in that moment and throw them off their soul's purpose or throw them off their track? And right now in this world where there's like a lot of like this kind of energy, it's very easy for that to potentially happen. It's always been more or less easy because of the general vibration of the planet, especially, but as we're ascending, and there's a lot of, you know, conflicting energy between the higher consciousness and lower consciousness, this there's going to be a lot of tests that will happen. And so I would at least recommend kind of cleansing mirrors. If you don't pick up on those kind of energies, whenever you're feeling down, I would say is a good barometer for just kind of like cleansing them, right?
Yeah, I just got a message too, just to stress. So intention is key in terms of interacting with energy. So if you feel like something weird is coming through the mirror and you want to close it, you just have to trust yourself and do the cleansing with intention. So say like, if there's anything here, it is gone, only light and love is allowed to interact with me or whatever. Be clear with your intention. All energy work has to do with intention. So as long as you're clear with it, you will get the point across, basically. Also, I got another just visual, but it's almost like a mirror is a window. It's like how we have windows to the outside physical world. It's like a mirror is a window to different dimensions. It's like the energy world, you know?
Oh, interesting.
I just got that message. I thought that was a cool visual.
That is a cool visual. I love it. That actually explains a lot because it can refract a lot of things that, you know, since dimensions and are based on frequency too, and you're refracting a lot of light into this reality and this realm. So entering a new dimension in that way is just it's kind of just looking at things with a new light, you know.
Yeah. Also, sorry, mirrors don't have to be, not all portals are bad, and mirrors don't all have to be bad. Like, even if there is like that little spirit girl that was in that, she was great. She'd like interact. She was really cool, you know, but it's the same with mirrors. I used to write like affirmations on my mirrors just to like have it be like, this is what I'm reflecting back on myself, you know. So you can also have a nice like reality looking at you to kind of help you manifest what you want in this physical world.
Yeah. And one thing also to know about like intention setting, just it's something that I just thought of, which I think is really important, is like, if you are not, if you want something in terms of the intention, if whatever you want is coming from a place of fear instead of love and heart-centered, it's worth kind of rejiggering that state of desire or that intention so it resonates with a state of love and heart-centeredness. Because if you put something out there and the vibration doesn't necessarily match, or the emotion doesn't match what it is, the intention is not going to align. So it's about really kind of intrinsically coming together with yourself and your mind and your body, just to make sure that, you know, everything's in alignment and you're just sending out those good vibes, matching where your next destiny is, you know?
Yeah.
So that was awesome. I love sending out those things. So they're good mirrors, there's good dimensions, and we talked about the vortexes and portals there's a commonality between them. Do you want to get into a little bit about the physical ones and how energy and physical how energetic portals and vortex intersect?
Yeah, so our chakras are all vortexes. So they are all places where higher frequency dimensions are coming into our physical. So our aura is made of multiple layers, and each layer is reaching into a higher reality. So your chakras are like a middle ground where they all kind of connect and then manifest into the physical. So technically you can think of it like a portal in a sense. The earth is similar. Everything physical has an energetic layer to it. So if you think of the earth as a body, it also has an energy field that has vortexes or chakras that are places where the earth is able to like send and receive energy from source. So those places are areas of higher, well, they're portals. They're areas where like you can tell there's a difference in energy. Weird things happen, like the Bermuda Triangle or whatever, where there's literally like interdimensional like travel that occurs. Same thing happens in space. Every area in the whole universe has an energetic blueprint. So within that, when there are a lot of like energetic lines that cross in the blueprint, there is a vortex, which is connecting a different bunch of different dimensions together.
Mm-hmm. And so because we can connect a bunch of different dimensions together, and this can manifest within us too, right? Like we can enter other dimensions, we can enter other realities, but also since everybody has an energetic body, we can also very quickly and easily connect to somebody else's energetic body. And there's a whole interaction that happens on a non-physical realm, and we can manifest a physical attachment to somebody unintentionally or very intentionally. And I would love to talk about, like, again, it all comes back to the intentions that you have within interactions, which is why it's also very important, particularly during these days, to focus on the intention that you have going behind whatever interactions you have with anything and anybody. So, like, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I actually, this is something that I talk about on my little podcast that I'm making. So the layers of our energy body are essentially realities in themselves. So we are like a walking onion, where there's just a bunch of, a walking Russian nesting doll. Those little dolls where the dolls go on top. So
I used to play with those all the time. Like I used to pretend like they were like I used to pretend they were like my little mini army, and they could like protect my room, and I would spread them out and be like, "You've got this, ladies. Let's get information." Anyway.
But all of these realities are as real as our physical one. We just aren't necessarily consciously present in it. So you usually connect to them like when you're dreaming or through a meditative state. But in those realities, there are interactions that are happening with other people or other beings energetically. Each of our chakras are associated with each of the levels. So if there is a clog in one specific area of your energy field, let's say your solar plexus is clogged, that auric body is going through some kind of weird something, you will get an energetic attachment that kind of resonates with that frequency onto you, which may just kind of pull you down. So then other chakras will kind of start getting out of balance. You may have like weird, like you may just be super pissy for no reason. You may just feel sick, weird things can kind of start happening. So everything, there are so many layers to us and to everything that anytime you are experiencing an emotion or whatever that has a specific frequency signature, you know, that will then attract other things that kind of go with that same wave, you know?
Yeah. And then, you know, what's really fascinating is I think a lot of people too we're so used to like the traditional seven chakra system, and as the earth and the planet is ascending, and so too our bodies, our systems at a DNA level are starting to shift too, and we're opening up a lot more of them. And I believe it's like the basic chakra system is turning into 16, and 16 regular ones, and then there are going to be some that obviously there are smaller ones around
They're
anyway.
minor ones. Yeah, there's so many chakras. There are so many.
It's crazy, but I don't know if you've heard that too, like that the main ones that are expanding or basically doubling.
I didn't hear that. I knew that there's different. There are 7 that just kind of more work closely with like our physical state of being here, which is why, from my understanding, those were like the ones that people primarily focused on, because the ones that go beyond that are like lying in relation to source energy and like all of our lifetimes, and they just get super complex and like in a much higher realities, you know? So I thought it was, well, yeah, I didn't know they were doubling though. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know where. I don't know like if anyone's ever charted it out for people to see in terms of like a visual map, but that's what I heard, that our systems, even on the physical level, are opening more energetic
connections, whatever, little chakras.
Love it. I love little chakras everywhere. So, okay, we got into some of the ones where we're like, oh, if you're in a really pissy mood or like lower vibration, like this is inevitable to happen. But do you want to talk like flip side and where and how certain things can be housed in a higher reality?
Yeah, well, like we were talking about before, a vortex is basically just this influx of like a saturation of a specific type of energy. So well, I guess you can have a bunch of different energy, and if it's like too much of that, then you're going to open weird doors into like these bizarre areas. But I guess it's just a lot of energy in general. If you're feeling really good, like if you have a sacred place where you meditate and you connect to source and stuff like that, if you have that one special place, the energy in that place is going to be vibrating at such a high frequency. So that saturation of that good energy is going to open up a place of like positive dimensions and stuff like that.
For people who are also curious about how to build onto that, you know, it's like if you walk in, we were talking about this a little earlier, but if you walk into something that I love, like going into spiritual shops, I love doing that on my pastime, because I feel like, you know, you get a lot of good vibes if you know which ones to go to, and with that, like the people who tend to go or who are attracted to going to those shops are also high vibes. So that chi, that energy, that life force that's constantly building there over time gets higher and higher and higher, and it just hosts such a powerful sensation for people. So you know, it's like when you walk into a place and you're like, oh, I don't have a good feeling, or you walk into another place and you're like, yeah, this feels awesome, or oh my god, it's beautiful, and meanwhile it might look like a normal run-of-the-mill place, but if it hosts such a beautiful energy, like you will pick up on it and you will feel something that is, you know, beyond that, just feels good.
Yeah, it's feeding you, it's bringing your energy field up, it's literally like nourishing you. Whereas vice versa, if you go into a place that is heavy, you're not going to leave feeling that hot.
So I guess for people who want to attract more goodness, what are some of the things that they can do to bring that goodness to them, aside from intention?
So any of the basic like house cleansing practices, for example, decluttering, making sure everything is nice and clean and orderly, that prevents any chaotic energy from coming in. opening up windows, getting some sunlight going is huge. So getting some sunlight to penetrate and cleanse everything. Again, burning any kind of cleansing botanical. I really like tingsha bells. They're like little bells. I don't know if you've heard of them. Little bells. Those are my favorite. Oh, even feng shui. That's a great, just to naturally get the chi flowing nicely. Anything you're able to do to lift the frequency up. And then if you can establish a practice where you're meditating and connecting to source, where you're feeling good, or just open up your room to beings of light and love, you know, that'll kind of allow a doorway for them to come in and work with you. And the more you can continue that practice, you know, the stronger that energy is going to kind of start setting in.
Amazing. It's, you know, it's so funny because I was actually I think a lot of people are, you know, intuitively drawn to just doing spring cleaning and just getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. And a lot of the books that had awakened me had always talked about not the literal concept of minimalist living, but the fact that just like your body can store memories, the things that you have take away and can also distract you from your calling, from your true power. So the more that you have, the more that you will be distracting and giving your literal frequency away, because it contains some of your frequency. It's yours, it's your property, it's within your home, within your day-to-day interactions. And the more that you can kind of release, the more that you are focused on what it is meaning to live, you know. So I share this with my clients quite often. It's like if you don't need it, I've always had a serious like attachment to clothes, thinking, you know, it's cyclical, it's always going to move, you know, it's always going to come back in style, so why am I going to get rid of it? Or like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever wear this, maybe this isn't the right occasion, but like there might be an occasion. And I have found, especially as, you know, my needs have shifted and changed, that I don't need as much. And especially this year, knowing that I need nature, like I've set this intention actually to, for the first time, like really get rid of all of the clothes that just don't serve me. And I have a lot of clothes, like a lot of clothes, but I recognized through this, and maybe this kind of conversation that's coming up is like a little like unintentional, like spirit is like, hey, you know, yes, now's the time, let's get to it, chop but literally like holding on to those like physical things, those material things, can take away from your power of what it means to truly live. Because I think as society have come to this place of just giving our power away to external forces in a lot of ways. And we've also, you know, in terms of larger systems, it's like we listen to them instead of listening to what our mind, body, and spirit connection is really trying to tell us, and about what makes us happy. Because at the end of the day, living is food, movement, breathing, interaction, love, right?
Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, going with the theme that you're talking about of just like giving your energy out to like things that don't serve you, that is living from a very heavy place, because it's living from a place where like it's a disconnection from source, because source is in everything. You can like freely give without having to worry about anything, because source is all of us, you know. There's like abundance in all of that. And when you're just kind of throwing stuff out, you're exhausting yourself. You're living from a place where like there's not enough, or like I need to do this, and like now I'm exhausted, who's going to help me, you know. I don't know, there's an idea there, and I don't know if I'm articulating it well. but yeah, no, I mean, living is remembering that we are abundant, and that we are source energy, and that we are all one. You know, it's learning to remember that. And I feel like the more that you start to align with that, the less you need, because you realize you already have all of that within yourself, you know.
Everybody has their own interests and rooted within their own spiritual makeup and genetic makeup. And and their purpose and their calling. But in terms of like lower vibration, kind of holding you or holding someone back, a beautiful quote that I had seen recently was like, being in a state of depression and being in a state of like physical discomfort is your physical body, your vessel, just telling you that you're not necessarily in alignment with your soul's calling. It's just kind of gearing you. It's trying to tell you like, hey, make just, switch it a little bit, and then maybe that'll hit there. Like it's a literal message for people. And I find it interesting, we've been so ingrained in society to work for the man, but in reality, we have to be able to work for us, because we only have us, and we have to make ourselves happy, because when we are happy, we're able to affect our community immediately. And then it's a trickle down effect, and it's the butterfly effect. When we are happy, we can truly show up for others. When we're drained and just not feeling ourselves, that will resonate as well. And since we're all so connected, it's the least selfish thing to show up and do things for yourself first.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
I love that we got onto that, right? Like, there's a reason for it. I feel like it's a good message across the board. But in terms of like just making sure that people can maintain that, because portals are constantly popping up across everything. They can even pop up in a room, right? So it's always about like the intention behind like everything going on. So making sure that, from what I'm hearing, just a quick like recap, it's constantly making sure that the intention behind what you're doing is of the highest good. So anything that you might attract will come through. Are there telltale signs for people to recognize in a room, for example, where there might not be a mirror, or there might not be something so obvious to the naked eye, what to look out for?
Yeah. So typically, if you feel a difference in energy in a certain area where it's a very like noticeable shift, where the air feels stale or feels heavy, or it feels super light and vibrant, when there's a big drastic change, that's usually a telltale sign that there is a very saturated little doorway of energy that's bringing more of that in. Same thing goes for like if things look more vibrant, if things feel louder, or if things feel a little bit quieter. Temperature changes. With the tingsha bells, those you can actually hear if there's a difference. People that aren't familiar with them, they're like little bells that have a little like leather strap, and you hit them and then they vibrate a frequency. So if you hit them and like move them along a wall, you'll be able to hear when the frequency changes, when the pitch changes. There's usually either heavy stagnant energy there, or it could be a portal. If it's a vast difference and it's not going away, then that's usually a sign that there is a portal there. When you do see where the area is, you can get your cleansing botanical and you can like sew it shut. So pretend you're actually literally like sewing it to close it and go through it like a few times. Variances of 3 are usually really powerful. So 3, 6, or 9 times, just kind of go through it and really sew it. And then you can recheck with the tingsha bells, or just step out of the room, come back, see if you notice a difference. If you still haven't noticed a difference, you can get like a protective crystal, like black tourmaline or something, and just put it in the center of the vortex, and then spin it to basically like close the whirlpool. If you are on, I forgot how it's split up, but you know how like in the US, when water goes down the drain, it'll go clockwise, but in like Australia or something, it goes like opposite. So whichever way your water turns is the way you want to spin your hand. And then just keep doing that a few times. You can leave stones there too, just to kind of like attack it with positive energy if it's a heavier vortex or portal or whatever. I have one thing I want to say real quick.
Yeah.
So when it comes to portals, sometimes that can, so places that have a lot of paranormal activity, usually have a lot of portals. Portals are not just dimensions where like energy can spill out, but the like literal beings can come out. Like I've literally been in a house where there was a portal in the kitchen and there was this like astronaut man coming through, these like weird people. So there's can literally be like weird people that are stemming forth. Same thing with like more darker energy. You can be opening it up to all these weird, like from scary movies where they're like heads all like, you know, like weird creatures that don't need to be there. That's fun.
Yeah. So again, like maybe it's like, it's just important to that is like to not play around with them. You know, it's really important to go in with high intentions, because this kind of stuff, like it's also the doorway to astral traveling, like because you're entering astral traveling, new dimensions and new realities. So wherever you end up is because a portal has kind of welcomed you there, whether you put it there or it's there. So like to your point, it's like you've seen like astronauts or whatever. It's like they were welcome to come into wherever you were because a portal was set, whether it be the room that had set the intention, you might have brought the intention with you, or vice versa. Like astral traveling, like that's basically what's happening, from whether it be like another dimension, another current state.
Situations can also give rise to things, because situations and relationships or whatever also hold within itself a vibration. So if you get in a super big fight in like one room, and every time you get in that room, like you like fight with somebody, you know, the energy of that situation, you know, will also stream forth this like weird doorway to just funky stuff.
I'm gonna tell a very personal one, because I also think it could resonate with a lot of people. In when, for example, you know, I had become a holistic lifestyle coach when I was predominantly living in the city, in New York City, and so my apartment's energy shifted with me because I was bringing new intentions there. And I was always really frustrated at the beginning of my journey whenever I would come back to my parents' home in Connecticut, because a lot of my not so optimal experiences happened when I was living in Connecticut full time. And all of these habits would come back to my memory, and then I would act upon them. So my like constant need for snacking, and then all of a sudden my late night binging habits would happen, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And that is like one of the biggest examples that immediately had come up, just to kind of trail off on your point. Like it shows up in a lot of different ways. Do you want to explain to people also, because we talked about things having an impact, a vibrational impact on a space. Do you want to talk about how the sun, because everything is a frequency, everything is a light. It hosts such a powerful high, like you look at the sun and it's so bright that it can't, you know, they say the sun is blinding, and there's a reason why, you know, it hosts such a high frequency. So when you have a place that has a lot of sunlight, you're going to be able to create that flow at a high frequency instead of something that's lower. So in you know, just like the plants and botanicals that you were saying, it's like they host a high vibe intention because the plant itself is a very high frequency. So it you know, just going back to it being a vibe.
Yeah, in all aspects, there's like a physical, literally like scientific thing happening, as well as just an energetic flow of positive energy that's just fueling the space and like transmuting any heavy frequencies.
And you know, we've talked about this in other in like slightly parallel contexts before, but you know, your environment, like in terms of even your DNA structure, impacts your reality. So it's called, going back to science doing this, it's called epigenetics. And epigenetics is all about the fact that like your DNA, the protein in the DNA have antennas. And the antennas are literally like, you just picture the, you know, the old school televisions where they were attracting like the satellites and just adjusting those to get the better frequencies going. Well, if you think about it in that way, like if your antennas are trying to adjust in a space that can't receive that good frequency, and it could be, again, going back to it, people, it could be things, it could be like your work environment, your mindset, but anything that is sort of external. Epigenetics is like thinking about like epidermis, your skin, the outermost organ, the outermost layer. If something is off kilter, like it's going to impact your day to day, the way that you think, the way that you move, the way that you act, the way that you write and breathe. It's just being able to acknowledge the external and also the energetic realms that are around you, and bringing that good intention with it, I think is like paramount to basically doing anything else following that. Like, again, even like the working out aspect of it all, right? Like if you need to work out, like setting the intention of like it being a high vibe, like you got to do that, to bring that with you. So yeah, I feel like in that way we covered a lot in like a very quick amount of time, but I feel like that's like the way we roll, we're hitting the nails on the head. Is there anything else that you want to kind of leave our peeps?
Let me go over my notes. Hold
yes.
Going back to your space, doors can also work as very effective portals. So whenever I cleanse my space with like sage or whatever, I will literally go to the door and I will like set the intention that only light and love is allowed in. And I literally imagine this like bubble, like gelatinous weird thing forming on the door where like anytime I walk in the door, anything that is not mine, because I have an issue with latch-ons. So anything that is not mine or anything that's heavy, it just kind of melts off me, and this is my like sacred space, So you can also do that to kind of reinforce the energy in your space and kind of protect you, because your space is a extension of you in a way, so if the health of your space isn't good, then it's going to impact you, and vice versa. If you're not in a good place, then it's going to affect your space.
So for people who are like, well, how am I intuitively able to understand, like how am I intuitively able to go through this? Your imagination is almost like a doorway to intuition.
That's absolutely 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So when you were saying, you imagine certain things, like that's what I wanted to bring up. Your imagination is like, I just going in the theme of it, I want to underscore your imagination is a portal to your intuition. Like it is so connected. It is just so connected. So when you want to imagine protection, or if you want to invite protection into your place, or if you want to invite like, I don't want to be bothered today. It's like, just imagine like an invisibility cloak kind of going over you, just like the literal version of Harry Potter, like bring it to your life, like throw one on and feel that invisibility, and you will see that like you're manifesting that into your reality. Like that, the power of imagination, like we need to take more notes from kids and not take that power away from them as well, because I think that they are the perfect example of how to attract your intuition and how to heighten that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that all the time, especially for people who are just starting to open up their senses. You just have to imagine it and pretend that what you're feeling is correct. And that's all that matters. The more that you're able to do that, the more you'll start to like understand little nuances and be able to like, oh, I get it now, but imagination is the doorway. Absolutely. Yes.
Yay. I feel like this was such a beautiful like button to our little chat, and I know we just we took our little conversations off of a shelf, we dusted it off, and here we are kicking off 2021 with one of my favorite conversations, and I'm excited to share this with you guys on a super high vibe day.
Yes.
Sweet. I feel like this is a really good one. Really informative for people who are trying to kind of enter the spiritual world, and also understand that you can manifest a lot of things, and everyone's powerful in and of themselves. And yeah, you can do it. You can do it all. But yeah, I think this was a good one. And I can't wait to do another down in the near future. And yeah, welcome to 2021. Awesome.